Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Chai Paste Talks, where Kalpak and I we discuss interesting companies. And before we start the session for today, I want to give the general disclaimer that please do not treat this particular video as a piece of investment advice. Do consult your financial advisor before making any investment decision. And we may have holdings in some or all of the companies that we discuss in this particular series. So the company that we have for today is Ion Exchange India Limited. Okay, so Ion Exchange India Limited is a company which is in the water purification space or water treatment space. Now, when we talk about water treatment as a space, it is it's quite a big space. And there are many units or many different divisions to this particular space. Okay. So as a common man, whenever we talk about water purifier, the first thing that comes to our mind is AquaGuard, right? AquaGuard has created such a space for itself that, AquaGuard is synonymous with the word water purifier. Okay, so the way Xerox has become a verb, it has become a cult in itself. Okay, similarly, AquaGuard is something that has, that is synonymous to the water purification space, right? So, Ion Exchange India Limited has, presence in four of these segments. Okay, one is drinking water treatment, then wastewater treatment, then they have services, where they assist companies and individuals to have their water treatment plants, and they have a business in specialty chemicals. Okay, but broadly, you see, this particular segment, this segment, and this segment are product-oriented segments where the company has products of its own. Okay, and then it has a services segment where the company is offering its services in various formats to companies, right? So the services segment is mainly a B2B segment, right? So on the B2C part, they do have a consumer products division, which we will talk about. Okay, right. So let us talk about the market as a whole. I just did a little bit of secondary research on this, and I found that the total market for water treatment is about 20 billion US dollars. Okay. Uh, then there is this total market for resins. Now, what are resins? Resins are nothing but you can say that they are water treatment chemicals. A very important point, Kalpak, that I want to highlight is that the services, the market is extremely fragmented. Okay. So there are many different players at different levels. Okay, so there are national players, there are international players, then there are regional players who compete in a very small space, right? So as I was going through the annual reports of Ion Exchange, I found one thing about the company is that they said they don't intend to participate in the Namami Gange projects at all. Okay, and they said that it's a very competitive segment, and as a part of the management strategy they have decided to keep away from that particular segment. Okay, so the point is there are many players and they're trying to make a niche of their own, right? So for example, Ion Exchange has a strategy of picking up only value added contracts. Okay, and the company has a market share, Galbag. It is a market leader in the resins business. It has about a 35 to 40% market share, and in the water treatment chemicals business it has about 10 to 15% market share, right? Let us talk about the competitors which I mentioned on the right hand side. So like I mentioned, competitors are there across the board. Okay, so we have international competitors like Vabag. They have a business in India, VA Tech Vabag, right? Then we have domestic players like Praj, and Praj has a different it has a different division or business of its own called Praj High Purity Systems, which is specially designed for water purification. Okay, then DuPont Chemicals is a major US company. It's a chemicals company. Then an Indian chemicals company, Chembond Chemicals. Okay, so these are just 4 5 names which I thought are important. And of course, Thermax is a big competitor for the company. So if you happen to read the the con call transcripts, you will see that the management on almost every occasion that they are asked who is a competitor, they mention Thermax. So Thermax is apparently a big competitor for the company.
Right, Abhineet. So, if you look at a little bit deeper into where the revenues of Ion Exchange India Limited comes from, so this is from the year 2020. Okay, so about 60%, 61% of their business comes from what they classify as engineering. 31% comes from chemicals, and only 8% comes from consumer products. And the split of revenues domestic to export is quite healthy. 62% comes locally, and 38% comes from exports. Now, when we mean engineering versus chemicals, so the start you gave about the industry the company operates in, the things it does, it was very comprehensive and very nice. but the company classifies it in a certain manner when they report it. So engineering is essentially creating the infrastructure required to deliver water purification or water treatment, okay, of whatever kind. And chemicals are essentially membranes or resins or specialty chemicals or cations and stuff like that, which become a part of the process chain, okay. And they tell these chemicals further down, the value chain. And consumer products is like very similar to your AquaGuard, right? So engineering is the bulk of the revenues, and you can see some of the big clients they have on the right. I'll not go through that list. Within the engineering business, Abhineet, they have two kinds of offerings. One is standardized products, okay, where for small and medium-sized players in the food and beverage, in the chemicals division, and in pharmaceutical, they are able to simply fit a particular water treatment plant. And then they have custom product engineered products, okay, for larger contracts or big government projects and refineries and stuff like that. So they also do that, okay. If you remember correctly, chemicals business is about 30 odd % of the overall revenues, right? But the margins are very healthy, Abhineet, okay. If you see, all the charts are upward moving, it looks good, right? And the margins are about 15.6% odd. I can tell you, Abhineet, that about 60% of the capacity is being utilized. Their installed capacity in the chemicals business is currently utilized. So there is good room for growth. The management is very upbeat about this sector growing, and their capacity also gradually increasing. In the last few years, they have done some additional small amounts of capex to cater to this. Besides this, they are also coming up always with new products. About 0.8% of their total expenses goes into research and development, okay. So they're constantly creating very interesting products, okay. This is a very sound and solid business for them. Moving on to the engineering side of it, which is in blue, you can see some very interesting trend, okay, that the EBIT margins, which is the scatter line, okay, in green, is rising, okay, from 2.7% in 2016 to 8.2% of revenues in 2020. And you will say, wow, how is this happening? I mean, this is growth that's happening. Well, I'll tell you, Abhineet, this is majorly owing to one big order that the company got for creating a water treatment plant in Sri Lanka, an export order. It is basically an EPC contract, that is engineering, procurement, and construction contract, and they are delivering it across 3 years. I think it's scheduled to complete next year. Okay, and it's a very profitable contract. So they were able to secure a very profitable contract. 1,200 crores. If you see the revenues for 2020 itself is about 938 crores. So that one single order is a very substantial proportion of their engineering business.
Absolutely.
To add to that, Abhineet, this business, the upfront payment for their expenses is being paid by the Sri Lankan government. So it adds to the operational efficiency of things. So because of this, they are able to score like 8.2% margins. But my understanding is that once this business is once the Sri Lanka order
is executed,
I think the margins will revert back to the mean, about 3.4, 3 to 5%. And this is a very competitive space. There are a lot of infrastructure companies, and this is a typical margin number that you will see in all of those companies. So if you look at it, in 2020, 734 crores of profit margin came from the chemicals business, and 770 crores, almost the same amount, came from the engineering business. So the chemicals business, it can be said, is twice as profitable as the engineering business, okay, because the revenues of the engineering business are 2 times. Okay, so the positive here is that the company, despite the Sri Lanka order getting over someday and maybe engineering business margins normalizing, the chemicals business growing solidly with a very high ROC is a very big positive for the company.
Absolutely. Sadly, the company's consumer products business, I saw the numbers for the last 10 years. They have a practice of reporting segmental revenues and profits. So it's very sad to see that only 8 out of those 10 years, the company has managed to report a profit. Okay. And that too, the numbers you add, you'll get a big cumulative red number, right? Now, a point here is, see, it's managing a consumer products division or for any particular company, not just in a water segment on the water treatment segment, but anywhere you go, the marketing costs are high. Okay, and it's difficult to make a brand and run it sustainably, profitably. But my point is, this company is a pioneer when it comes to consumer products, right? So Zero B, if you all remember, Zero B was a product by Ion Exchange. Okay, they
Right.
did have a few patents at that time. Okay, and I remember the entire excitement that Zero B had created, and almost every house had Zero B. Okay, and then there used to be debates whether Zero B should be used or not. Some of them used to say that it's a very addictive thing, you should never use it. Okay, in spite of all that debate, everybody ended up using it, right? So the point is, when this kind of a pioneer company, which is in the consumer products business from 1980s, 1990s, this is a very dismal show, according to me. And things have to turn around. I mean, it's high time for the consumer products business to start giving profits.
That being said, Abhineet, the management commentary on the consumer products business is not very upbeat. Okay, they say that we are playing it very cautiously. Last year, it's about 120 crores of revenues. Okay,
Yeah.
in one of India's most quickly growing, it's one of the fastest growing markets for household and industrial water purification systems.
Yeah.
So there is lot to be desired from that perspective. Maybe the management is just not that skilled at promoting a B2C product, and maybe their niche lies in B2B space.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one small thing, Kalpak, let's compare the marketing strategy of Ion Exchange versus, let us say, Kent. Okay, I remember it's been almost 10 years that Hema Malini comes on the television and she talks about the Kent RO, right? So that's a very, very strong brand that they have managed to create. Unlike Kent RO, we have never seen such kind of aggressive marketing by this company. Okay, so my point is that despite not having a aggressive marketing strategy, they are a loss-making division. Then what happens when they try to get aggressive? So there are many questions to be answered by the management. And like you said, unfortunately, there's no light at the end of the tunnel there.
Yeah. So Abhineet, let's look at quickly, the annual numbers from March 2011 to March 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. Interested viewers might pause the video and take a closer look. But if I can give you a summary of what it is, the sales have grown at about 9.3% CAGR year on year. Okay. And the profits have grown much more impressively, right? So if you see the profits, the net profit has grown at 27%, which is a phenomenal number, okay, as compared to the sales. But again, you have to remember one very important thing. If you see the second last row in the first table, see the PAT margins, okay, they have only started expanding after March 2018.
Absolutely.
And
This
you
is
can
yeah.
you can see the spike here, okay, and it is predominantly because of the Sri Lanka order.
Right.
Okay. So now, will the company be able to back such orders now that it is in the big boy league? I don't know. We don't know that. But if it can do that, okay, maybe it is sustainable, and
Yeah.
maybe we are looking at a company that has tremendous, a growth phase of 4-5 years, which is a very good type of company to be in. Okay,
Right.
that's one aspect that looks very promising to me, and I can say that with quite a lot of positivity. But interested investors must look at what happens to this company after 2021, when that Sri Lanka order is exhausted, and then let's see how the engineering business starts turning out to be.
Absolutely.
If you look at the second table, Abhineet, the net block of the company is about 194 crores. Okay,
Yeah.
and on that kind of a base, they are doing sales about 1500 crores. So their fixed asset turnover ratios are very impressive.
Very impressive.
The ratio has been declining. Basically, it means that for every incremental rupee that they earn, they have to have larger amount of spend on capex investments. It's still a very comfortable number. 7.6 is a very good number.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
instead of it is a high fixed asset turnover business means that it is easy to enter into.
Easy to enter.
So,
Absolutely.
because at a low capital you can earn big revenues. Okay, so typically these are seen in businesses that are easy to enter into.
Right.
But with Ion Exchange's history and also research bent, okay, I think it's a very good picture that is being painted here. And finally, if you look at the working capital management in the last table, you will see that the company has huge debtor days. Okay.
Yeah.
So the debtor days are almost, if you see in 2018, it's 150.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's almost like half a year. Yeah,
Half year, 6 months is the receivable period.
Yeah.
Okay. Like 6 months is too much. Okay.
Yeah.
But see, in many engineering businesses, this is typically what you will see. Okay.
Yeah.
What needs to be seen is the cash conversion cycle, because that is what will give the sense of how the operating cash is managed by the company. And that is basically debtor days plus inventory days minus creditor days. Okay, so agreed that the receivables take time, but they also then pay their vendors later. Okay, so they're
Right.
able to manage it quite well. And the bottom row, you can see the numbers are not very bad. It's 1 to 2 months, which is quite standard.
So let us talk about the subsidiaries that the company has, Kalpak. I just noted down the number of subsidiaries, and it's a staggering 18 subsidiaries that the company has. About 17 to 18, because one of them is in the process of being closed down. Now, I give it to the management. I give a credit because they do business in multiple countries. They have a presence in Thailand, they have in Singapore, they have in Middle East, they have in the USA. Okay, and they have a whole lot of subsidiaries in India as well. Okay. But what was really disappointing to see is almost 50% of these subsidiaries, they have a negative net worth. Okay, so for our beginner viewers, I'll just explain what is a net worth. So basically, when you wipe out all the money that the parent company has invested in you, okay, as a subsidiary, okay, when you wipe off everything, you will have a negative net worth. Okay, so what this means is 50% of the subsidiaries have lost all the money that Ion Exchange had invested in them. Okay, and now they are just being funded by the parent company or by some other means. Okay, I'll talk about it later. Okay, so you see here, Kalpak, in the second row I have mentioned in yellow. Okay, so those are the investments the company has made in those subsidiaries. Okay, and they have been wiped out, right? So for example, Ion Exchange Asia Pte Limited Singapore, okay, there was an investment of 11 crores that has been completely wiped out, right? So Global Composites and Structural Limited, there was an investment of 2.82 crores that has been wiped out, and then there are more accumulated losses. Okay. Similarly for the other areas. Okay. Now, what is very worrying about this, Kalpak, is the management is continuously funding these companies, these very loss-making companies, and they are giving deposits and they are giving loans to these companies. Okay. So that's like as an investor, if I see, it's not acceptable to me, because the management is continuously pumping in money either in the form of equity or in the form of loans. Okay, there are some other areas where the management has subscribed to the subsidiaries equity because the company could not return the loan. Okay, so I'll not talk about that because that will be too much of a discussion in this particular session. Okay, but the point that I'm trying to make is the subsidiaries picture doesn't look good at all. Okay,
Right.
I wouldn't go to the extent of saying that funds are being siphoned off, because I do not have the proof, I do not have the forensic proof, but then the picture doesn't look good. Okay, the subsidiaries have made a huge loss. And in one of the reports that I read, I found out that the cumulative loss as on 2020 for all the subsidiaries is about 100 crores. Okay, the company has a net worth of 300 crores. The parent company I'm talking about,
350 crores, I think. Yeah.
around 350 crores. Yeah, so that means about 30% of their net worth has been wiped off by way of subsidiaries. Okay, that's not a position that any company would like to be in. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think Abhinit, a lot of good things were said before the previous slide, and the previous slide was like शादी के मंडप में बारिश गिरना, it rained in the wedding. Okay.
Purified water.
It was acid rain, not purified water rain. Okay, but it was a point worth mentioning. Quick look at the stock price. Okay, the stock had gone up to almost 1,000 and during January 2020, and then it fell to not so low levels. The stock is quite stable right now. We feel that the stock is quite decently valued as well. In 2019, if you see, there is a spike. Okay, that is actually the time when prominent investor Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, he purchased, I think, 5.5% stake in Ion Exchange. So he holds currently a 5.5% stake. So
Okay.
this is a trend you will see in many companies where a star promoter investor enters the company, and then there is a lot of buying that happens.
Spike, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So let us quickly see the 10-year numbers. You have already walked us through the entire chart. That was a very beautifully made chart, right? What is worth mentioning in this particular slide is, the company has been able to use its operating leverage. Okay.
Right.
Now, what do I mean by operating leverage for our beginners? Operating leverage is basically when you are able to increase your profits at a higher rate than your sales.
Yeah.
Okay. And how does that happen? So when a company has a significant amount of fixed costs in its cost structure, and it is able to add on more revenues to it, okay, then naturally the profit of the company increases. Okay. So this is exactly what is happening here, Kalpak. So sales have increased by about 10 odd percent CAGR in the last 10 years, whereas operating profits have increased by about 20 odd percent, and then the net profit has increased by a staggering 28%. Okay. Another thing worth mentioning, Kalpak, is despite making losses in the subsidiaries, the company has not raised much money. Okay. In fact, if you see by way of equity and debt, the company has only repaid, or they have just repaid their existing debt. Okay. And they have not diluted much of its equity, and you have to give it to the promoters for that. Okay. Dividends are being paid, although not in a very high, as a percentage of the total profits. The dividends are not very high. Okay. So if I remember correctly, as on March 2020, the dividend payout ratio was only about 10%. Okay.
Yeah.
But they have paid dividends. I mean, it's not a case that the management does not have an intent of returning back dividends at all.
Right, Abhineet. So we'll come to this critical slide where we pass a kind of verdict. So there are lot of good things happening with the company. The operating leverage at play is something that we saw in the previous slides already.
Yeah.
The other things are, the environment that the company is in. Okay. So water, if you know that water recently became a listed commodity, you can actually trade water right now.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of saying that water is going to be the reason why the next world war will be fought. Okay, although it seems more likely that a virus created somewhere is probably more likely to cause that, but water is extremely important. Treating water is even more important, and ensuring clean water is available to everyone is one of the Nal Se Jal missions by the government, right? So I'll tell you an interesting statistic. Almost out of about 190 million households that India has, okay, only about 50 million of them have tap water connectivity. So that's there's about 75% houses don't have tap water connectivity. So Nal Se Jal mission is, I think, allocation of 3.5 lakh crores for the next 5 years to ensure everyone has tap water connectivity.
Yeah.
So this tap water will of course have to be processed. So there's a big opportunity there. Okay. In addition, if you look at another interesting statistic, I'll just read it out. In 2001, the per capita availability of water was 1820 cubic meters. Okay. And it is projected to decline to 1140 cubic meters. Okay. Almost half by 2050. Okay. So you can't waste water anymore, right? You have to use water much more judiciously. Another thing on the industrial side of things is, only about 50 to 60% of the wastewater is treated in India. Okay.
Yeah.
And, the pollution control boards have, under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, okay, the pollution control boards have really tightened the norms on pollution and, how wastewater should be handled. Okay. And these things are being taken quite seriously. So that also is a very, very big opportunity for the company. So there is a lot of good environmental things at play for Ion Exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one point on the good side that I would like to add on is this zero liquid discharge is something that is kind of picking up in India, like you mentioned, because of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and the various restrictions that pollution control boards are now placing. Okay. And one more way of looking at it is, the pharma sector has been growing. Okay, there is increased traction across the value chain in pharma, be it APIs or be it formulations or be it branded formulations. Now, a water treatment company is a direct beneficiary of the pharma sector, increasing or growing in India, because pharma has a big requirement of water treatment plants for input as well as for output processing.
Right.
Right. So let's talk about what doesn't work in the company's favor, Kalpak. Too many subsidiaries is what we have spoken about. The landscape is extremely competitive, especially in the company's core area. Okay, which happens to be engineering. Okay, and they do project they do work on project basis, and it's a very competitive space. Receivables are high. It's almost half a year that the company has to wait for collecting money. It's a different matter that they make their vendors wait for more than that. Okay, or slightly around the same level. It has too many subsidiaries. The uptick that we have seen in the margins, especially on the engineering side, is thanks only to one single project in Sri Lanka. We don't know whether that is sustainable. Okay, and there are 2 points which I want to highlight, Kalpak, which we have not discussed. Is if you observe the shareholding or the structure of the board of directors of the company, you will realize that something very odd is happening there. Okay, generally the trend is that family management businesses are moving to professionally managed businesses. Okay, but in Ion Exchange, something very odd is happening. Initially, they had they had a professional management, and now they are moving towards a family managed business. Okay, there is actually a history to it, Kalpak. There is a long history of how Ion Exchange has been established in India. Due to lack of time, we will not be able to cover that. But if you are interested in reading that, I would really encourage you. A simple Google search will give you that, the results for that particular thing, the history of Ion Exchange in India. Okay. The last point that I want to talk about is the promoter holding of the company is quite odd. Okay. So here's what happens. So this is Ion Exchange India. Let us say I don't have anything in my hand, but let us say this is Ion Exchange India. Okay. And then these are their subsidiaries, right? So subsidiaries take investments from the parent company Ion Exchange India. Okay. And then the subsidiaries are themselves which invest in certain percentage back in Ion Exchange India, right? So that is kind of a circular transaction. You must have noted that is kind of a circular transaction. And because of this circular transaction, the promoter holding is reflected higher than what it actually should be. Yeah. Okay. So when you see the promoter holding in the company, let us say it is 27% right now. I think that's the number, right? 27% is the number. So it's actually not that, because a certain percentage of it is owned by or it's held by the subsidiaries. Okay, so it's thanks to the circular transaction that we see a higher number on the promoter holding in the company.
Right, and Abhineet, also another thing is that the structure of the company was professional until I think 2012, 2013, and it has moved from a professional to a more family-run setup. If you look at the directors of the company, they are related to each other. Okay, there are two sets of families: the Patni family and the
Sharma family.
Yeah, and so it's unusual. I'm more used to seeing family-run businesses turn professional. I'm not used to seeing professional businesses turn family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So, what's the final verdict on this? I mean, we have seen so many things in a relatively short span of time. See, the space is really exciting. Water treatment. Wherever you go, you need water. We have heard all kind of things, right? Like you said, water is, the available water is declining. Fresh water is a problem. Okay. The space is very vast. We have a whole lot of areas like wastewater treatment, drinking purification, desalination, etc., right? That's on the industry. There's no doubt in it that it's an exciting and a fast-growing industry. Okay, let's talk about the company. We have discussed a lot, but what's the verdict on the company's management? See, Kalpak, whenever we are looking at this kind of a company and we decide to invest in it, the best we can hope is the management turns around. Okay, we have seen that the management has a bad track record of using capital. Okay, we have to give a credit to them that they have come up with really revolutionary products, but then capital management is something that they miserably fail. Okay, so the most important hope that an investor should have here is the management should turn around. Okay, now how does the management turn around? There are two ways. Either the existing management change their habits, okay, of using capital better, or a new board or certain members from the existing board are replaced by new board members. Okay, the possibility of second happening is higher than the possibility of first happening. Okay, and along with this, we have the presence of Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, who holds a 5% stake in the company. Now, here's what I want to ask to our viewers. Why do celebrity investors like Mr. Jhunjhunwala invest in such companies? What is the rationale, right? We have seen many drawbacks of the company to avoid it. Okay. In fact, if I have to give a verdict, I'll say that I wouldn't place this particular stock in my core portfolio. Okay. At best, I'll have a small allocation to this particular stock and then hope for the best, right? Hope for the management turnaround to happen. Okay. But the real question is, why do these people like Mr. Jhunjhunwala invest in such companies? Okay. We would like to discuss the answer, but not now. Before that, if any of you would want to comment in the box, we really would appreciate that. Okay. On the ratings, Kalpak, business, we would give a 3 on 5 because of the the promising nature of the industry and the developments that are happening world over. Valuation is quite comfortable. We haven't discussed valuation, but I have run a valuation model and it's quite comfortable as per the cash flows that the company has thrown up. Okay. Promoter at best, somewhere between 2 and 3 is what I will give because of the track record. So that's all, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for listening.
Right, guys. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed this hot cup of chai. Thanks.
Thank you.